What's Fundación Oceanographic? What we do? So our foundation is focused on the conservation of the sea environments, and we are doing this through our three main pillars, which are research, conservation, and the commitment to bring our advances and the science that we're producing to the society, that way bringing the sea closer to them and making them stay connected with the sea and interested in what are we doing. So I'm not gonna make it too long because we already talked a lot about syngnathid and what are their problems and how do they live. So yeah, we got the problem that sometimes we lack some data depending on the area. For example, in our area, the Valencian community, the range of distribution of the seahorses is mostly unknown from some areas. And yeah, we already know them. They are pretty bad swimmers. They used to stay in the same place for a long time. They are super specific for a specific environment, and that makes them pretty vulnerable to commercial exploitation, bycatch, and habitat degradation, even if they're not the main target of the fishermen, but they're usually catch as bycatch, mostly by gill fishing nets. So let me introduce you our Marine Fauna Recovery Center, which we call Arca del Mar. We've been rehabilitating and recovering many species through the years. So we've been working a lot with the fishermen in order to help all those animals which accidentally fall into the nets of these guys. And yeah, here's where we are trying now to work with the seahorses since 2022. We started this project with the objective of assess seahorse populations in the Valencian community. It was also a request made by lots of the fishermen because they told us that they released the seahorses, but most of the times they displayed some kind of erratic behaviors, some abnormal swimming patterns, buoyancy, and that's why we try to rehabilitate the accidentally captured individuals for later release and monitoring. We wanted to establish stable reintroduction sites for those seahorses coming from the bycatch and actively involve local stakeholders in marine conservation efforts. Because as we previously told, we are super committed to the divulgation of our actions, and we thought that as much as people know about one thing, most probably is that they love it and they try to protect it. So, the local standing network has played a key role in all this because we were already part of that standing network, but that supported us a lot and allowed us to respond effectively and in a coordinated way to all those calls for seahorses. And luckily, Fundación Oceanographic, it's like the centerpiece of this puzzle, okay? Because even when all those entities are super important for the conservation of marine species, and specifically the syngnathid, we're kind of like the centerpiece, because most of the times, lots of these entities are not able to speak directly with the others. I mean, they keep relations with them other. The ONGs are especially related with society because they talk directly to them and with the university world research centers, but sometimes they're not able to reach professional fishing or even the local governments. So that's where Fundación Oceanographic can play a key role connecting all those parts in the puzzle. So, starting with our working methods, we started to work with the seahorses in 2022. And as I told you, it was because of some requests of professional fishermen. Then we prepared a protocol for them. We offered them those kind of baskets to place the seahorse inside while we were reaching the harbor or they were arriving to it. We're covering like 500 kilometers of coast, so it's a lot, and we're spending some time to reach every port over there. But yeah, The awareness of the fishing sector, it's growing more and more through the years, because every year we're receiving more calls for seahorses, and every year more ships are trying to collaborate with us, because they're really connecting with us, and they're really understanding that the most that they do to care about the other species that they don't really need, and the environment, the most benefit are they going to take later. And I think that's pretty cool from this work, because those guys are the ones spending the most of the time in the ocean, and the most doing things over there, and this is like the key role, and we're not gonna lose this job, because we need them as a society. So yeah, they are super important for it. So we already talked about the fishing sector awareness. We already talked about the teamwork in the previous slides, and our materials and notification protocol. But when we received the seahorses in our rehabilitation center, they all go through a clinical examination. Okay, we perform lots of diagnostic techniques led by our veterinary group. Okay, and then when required, we perform the treatment for the complete rehabilitation of the animals. Of course, they doesn't always survive. Okay, we have some deaths over there, and we take all those samples for pathology in order to understand what's going on and what's the real risk of those interactions with the fishing activity. And we also take samples for genetics from these animals, also alive as well. Of course, once they're kind of hospitalized in our center, we always keep continuous monitoring of the animals, thanks to our multidisciplinary team, who's always taking care of them, and they're getting pretty good at it, I have to say, because we've been evolving through these years during the project. So once the animals are completely recovered, we are able to do, oh, sorry, I forgot. Once they arrive as well, we take photos from every individual, so we have a bunch of photos of everyone to try to make a photo identification later, or maybe if any of you are interested, we have a bunch of photos of seahorses with measures and everything. So coming back to the point that was before, the identification, we always try to identify the animals through the photos, or we tag them with a visual tag, okay, with the elastomer. We introduce it subcutaneously, and we are not able to identify them individually that way, but in case they came back as a recapture or making the follow-up of the releases, we can know if that animal has been hospitalized or if it's another individual. Okay, talking about the release, historically, fishermen told us about the releases, because once they found a seahorse, usually they don't want the seahorse for anything, so they just release it into the sea. But then they told us about the abnormal swimming patterns, the buoyancy, and most of the times they were doing this in the harbor, so it's not like the proper environment to release a seahorse. Those guys were probably ending as the breakfast of any other fish over there. So we wanted to make releases in specific places where we already assessed the biocompatibility, looking for seagrass meadowns or coralligenous or pre-coralligenous environments. And then we were performing follow-ups of the releases in order to see the survival rate and how were those guys doing in the place that we chose for them. So going with the results, we're pretty happy with the participation of the fishing sector. I mean, these numbers are kind of old, because it was like 3 weeks ago when we prepared the presentation. We keep growing, as we said, and we have the collaboration from the 3 provinces that conform our region, more than 30 ships. I would say that almost we're reaching 50 ships maybe right now, from 7 different guilds and from different fishing gears. Okay, most of them come from gillnet fisheries, but for example, yesterday we received our first call from a bottom trawler who captured a pipefish. So we're pretty happy because we're reaching also that fishing gears as well. Okay, so we attended 190 Syngnathid through this year. I would say that we're right now over 220, but talking about those 190, 147 were live when they came to the rehabilitation center, and 43 were already dead. Most of them are seahorses, Hippocampus or Hippocampus gutulatus, and we had 2 cases of Syngnathus acus which were not captured. They were stranded in the shore. They were found by a tourist at the beach. But yeah, that was only 2 cases, and now the pipefish that I already told you from yesterday. Yeah, from those 147, 32 died when they were at the rehabilitation center. That's pretty sad, but that's always a possibility. Okay, that's 21% of mortality. It could be better, of course, but we're pretty happy with it. Most of the animals, and I say most, do not say all of them, died because of the injuries or the pathology that they displayed when they come to the center. So they're usually related with the interaction with fisheries. And we have successfully recovered 101 seahorses, which are already reintroduced in the sea. And yeah, the rest of the animals that, if you do the maths, there are some of them which do not appear here. They're still in the recovery process. So, thanks to all this access to a lot of animals, we've created a strong database which allowed us to collaborate with local, national, and international projects. You will probably recognize some of the logos up here because some of you are already here. We've learned a lot about ecology and biology of these species. Knowing how they behave when they're coming from such a big stress as the capture, recording them and reintroducing them. We've also learned a lot about pathology, about how do they bodies respond to the injuries produced by the bycatch or to this stress. I have to say that most of the animals do not display pathology when they come because the awareness of the fishing sector is growing, as I said, and they're always taking more and more care about the animals, and they're picking them as soon as possible, putting them in the water, because most of the pathologies are related with sun exposure because they can stay for up to 3 hours in the vessel without water. And yeah, we improved our management and recovery protocols thanks to this. Yeah, and also, as I said before, lots of social networks work in media, workshops, and scientific courses growing from this project that we already explained to you. And yeah, after the recovery, the science that we've been producing, and the awareness of the fishing sector and the society, what's left? We're trying to work a little bit more in restoration, so our short-term or medium-term idea is to establish 3 permanent sites for reintroduce the animals and kind of restore the environments that have been erased for human activities, and we are lacking seahorses now. And yeah, just to finish, I have a little video over here with some images. I hope you like it, guys. This is a release of a bunch of seahorses who were at the rehabilitation center and are ready to come back to the sea. that's everything, guys. Hope you liked it, and see you around.